Hey guys, it's Landon here, just checking in. We got exciting news. Review Pop is 1 year old, and it's just amazing, and I really appreciate everyone who had supported the podcast. But we got, in honor of the podcast, we got slightly new intro music, or I guess slightly updated, but I hope you guys enjoy it. There are kids in this world who are different. Special.
There are these kids out there somewhere. Whittier calls them for. Why is it always 6 minutes?
In this episode, I'll be breaking down the 40th episode of 6 Minute Season 4, piece by piece. Well, hello, Review Pop listeners, it's your Landon Mueller. Now, we are here today to talk about episode 40 of 6 Minutes Season 4, called Dr. Monica Purcell-Anders, Out of Patience. And we are here joined by the wonderful Casey. And she also plays, Chloe Lovejoy in the Natureverse, Isabella Denissen. Hey Bella, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to be here.
Getting to meet people, who are behind the show, I think it's really exciting. And yeah, I always have a blast, so thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're going to kick this off with some questions, kind of about your character and, just your acting career in general. So yeah. All right, here we go. I'm wondering if you have any interesting memories from your audition for Casey. Were you instantly drawn to your character? You do such an amazing job playing her, so I would imagine so. Also, were there any qualities about your character that stood out to you in your audition?
Yeah, well, actually, I auditioned for another one of Gen Z Media's podcasts. I totally forget. It was like something million views. It was about this girl. And that's what I auditioned for originally, but I didn't get that. And they reached out to me and were like, we have this character on this show 6 Minutes. Her name is Casey. This is this. And they were like, I think you would be perfect for it. And I read the episodes that she was in, and I just remember loving her. She's so spunky and so witty and silly and confident in herself. So I'm so glad they thought that I was fit to play Casey.
I can't imagine anyone else, playing Casey. So yeah, I think you do a great job.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because we see the picture of the actor, and then we start to associate the character's voice with the actor, and so yeah, I think that's what I imagine at this point, and I think that's what most fans do. We're just
everyone's voices are so specific and
yeah. Well, the next question I've asked to everyone that's been on the show, what was the first radio drama or audio drama you listened to was? 2 of your co-stars said that they discovered the medium while learning French, and I think that was really interesting. Also, what types of, things did you learn about audio dramas while working on this project, as well as the Natureverse?
Well, I don't think I listened to much audio dramas. I don't think I even know. I think when I auditioned and when I became part of Gen Z Media and 6 Minutes and then becoming Mother Nature, I don't think I knew much about story-based podcasts. But this foreign media I think is actually so cool. I think a lot of people really, really enjoy it. And I remember when we first got 1 million downloads on 6 Minutes, they told us a story about how teachers were using it in second grade classrooms, and kids were using it as learning tools and also just fun stories, but not necessarily TV or movies or anything. And I just think that's so cool. Yeah. And I'm so glad that it's been so voiceover work is just so cool. It's cool to take the words off the page and just bring it all to life.
Yeah. Well, I think, audio drama, it's such an interesting medium, and, GZM, they kind of reinvented audio dramas, right? Because there's radio dramas, which have been around for a really long time, but, they're kind of fading out of existence, and then, Mars Patel, and then 6 Minutes, and, it's really been reinvented, and now so many people listen to audio dramas. And, the other thing is, I think 6 Minutes was, just very popular right off the bat, right? It was like, I think number one on Spotify, number one on Apple Music within, the first few days it was out. And so, yeah, I think that was, just really exciting. And, that says a lot about, just the show and the popularity of it now. Well, the next question I have is, how does the element of everyone on set, just really being a family help improve the way you play Casey? Whether that's funny experiences with other actors or, just something else. And I asked John T. Weston this, but I'll say it again. Is there an experience you've had recording that you still look back on today?
It was so fun. We would always there would always be snacks, and if you weren't in the booth, if you weren't doing a scene, we'd all hang out on the couches and chat. And the other kids, Shahadi, who plays Holiday, they're all living in the city in New York. And so it was just really cool to hang out with, these kids my age, and we all are and have this thing that we're doing and creating together. And so I just think that was so fun. And I remember getting to record for Becoming Mother Nature, and that was a lot of dialogue, and I was there for 2 or 3. I went in it just was so fun, being in the booth and doing scenes with the other actors that would come in, and it's such a cool experience. And I don't know, I'm just super grateful and appreciative to have, gotten to do this and someone been an actor and one of the people to bring 6 Minutes to life. So
6 Minutes wouldn't be the same, without the incredible acting in the show. And yeah, that makes up so much of the show, and I think it's so great. Yeah, well, do you remember, just a certain scene from a previous season that was really hard to do? Of course, you don't know what will happen in the story until you read the scripts, but there's definitely that shock factor of, finding out, just certain things, so...
Oh my gosh, it's been so long. Now I just, I read it and I record, and then I'm okay, but there's so many seasons and so many episodes. Yeah. But I remember, finding out in, I think it was season 1 when you find out who Flashcard is. But I remember them telling me and me being oh, no way. And no one knew except for me for I think a little bit. And so it was just so fun to know what was gonna come, and then reading how all of that unfolded. I don't remember a scene necessarily being hard. I do remember there's some pretty emotional moments in the show, and I think there was a scene that I filmed with it was between Casey and Cyrus. And I don't remember the context of the scene, but I remember both of us being that cut deep. That hit hard. Yeah. But yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was on Rewind, you said something about, you had to keep it from that truth about, who Flashcard was from everyone else. And so, that might have been kind of hard, but
it was kind of fun. It was fun to know Casey's secret. And
yeah, right, because everyone's guessing. Yeah, well, now time for the episode. We're talking about episode 40, which is crazy because I've talked about every episode of season 4, and so it's just it's been a lot of fun, especially just interviewing people from the show. I think it's really exciting. Yeah, here we go with the first clip.
He took an instant disliking to Katie.
Wait, but isn't she...
his future wife? Yep.
Oh.
And now we're stuck here because of the snow.
Katie did not make a good first impression when she met Joe, and that's probably changing the future. And yet we don't know how. I think the snowstorm is interesting. It gives Katie, a chance to get to know Joe, although she doesn't seem too interested. And I think we already know how Brinley feels about that. Yeah. Yeah, what do you think of kind of, I was thinking about the snowstorm a little bit, and it was at Joe's cabin, so I kind of think this is, so it's a callback to that. What did you think of those episodes in season 1, and, how exciting they might be in, season 4 in terms of the snowstorm?
Yeah, it's so cool, and I think it's so cool that that's brought to light again in season 4. And
yeah.
It's very interesting how everything's connected and has such an impact on the story and the futuristic aspect.
And I think there was a lot of exciting Casey stuff during those episodes because she was at Whittier Corp with Cyrus, and they helped turn off I think some of the technology that Magnus and his team had, so I thought that was really interesting.
Dr. Anders, do we have to do more tests?
It'll be okay. Just one more, sweetie. I promise.
You said that last time.
Just close your eyes.
Bella, I'm not sure if you know this, but a 6 Minutes superfan played that Wit Kid.
Really?
Yeah, basically last August there was a Season 3 trivia night, and superfan Stella won, so I thought she did such a fantastic job. But on another note, I'm curious as to what's going through Monica's mind. Maybe she didn't expect these emotions to hit so hard, and it's like she's revisiting the past, and there's not much she can do.
I was gonna say, yeah, she's probably so like reminded by Holiday and Casey and all of what they've been through and what she knows. Yeah, I'm sure that was that was super emotional to listen to, but I'm sure that is a lot for Dr. Anders and yeah, that's super, wow.
Are you going to cry?
No, sorry. I'm just a little emotional. You remind me so much of my little girl. I miss her a lot.
Holiday was away on her mission in the Arctic for a, very long time. There was a moment early last season that I thought Holiday would come back, and of course she didn't, but, I love how involved she's been in Season 4, but Monica still hasn't heard from her, and seeing Adelaide is a big reminder of what she's missing.
Yeah, definitely.
Were you surprised, kind of, and this goes back to last season, were you surprised that Holiday was in the season? And there's a reason behind that, because they didn't want to, distract from the story of Brinley.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think I was surprised. I think Casey hasn't, I think in the last season, she hasn't interacted with like Brinley or Cyrus really that much.
Yeah.
And so Casey's doing her own thing.
Yeah.
So I wasn't super surprised, but it is interesting. But I honestly think that it's important. Holiday's absence is super important for the growth of a lot of other characters as well.
And seeing her come back was really exciting because she was gone for such a long time. And I'm excited to see Casey interact with Cyrus a bit more because he was in that coma for a while.
Yes, he did. I'm very sorry to hear that.
It's okay. Life isn't always easy, right? You just have to face what you have to face.
Yeah, that's a great quote by Adelaide, and Monica can take so much from it. She's, found herself in a difficult situation, and as much as she's thought that she's moved on, she still feels guilty. I love what Jess mentioned on Rewind, and I think it makes a lot of sense. She said that Monica's past is really coming full circle, and, especially in seasons 1 and 2, Monica talked a lot about her, regrets, so I'm wondering how she will handle them now.
That just is so much. And I do that quote is super, super well said and is huge for Monica, I think, to think about. And then also, I don't know, huge for everyone to think about.
And, I just love how Adelaide shares in the great qualities of Holiday, right? Holiday wouldn't exist without Adelaide, and so... And also, I'd like to note that Valeria Gonzalez, she did a great job making her sound slightly different. So that, it's not confusing. Yeah.
Okay, Badge. Kinda crazy to be hovering over New Orleans again, huh, guys?
It's so dark. I can't really see much.
You okay, Holiday?
Yeah. Well, last we heard, River and Sam left Thornton Rust, presumably to go to Neverland. And I'm surprised that Holiday and Birdie decided to go to New Orleans. I'd imagine that they're looking for River and Sam, but I don't know how they found their location. We heard them going through River's call log, but that's all we heard. Either way, I'm excited to see, if they make it to Neverland or not. By the way, in the quiz, you chose Neverland as your 6 minutes location. What do you like about, the island?
Oh, well, it's completely terrifying, but I think that, like, I don't know, it's also has lots of whimsical aspects, which I just am super drawn to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be really exciting, of course, yeah.
Speak about what?
Choosing a side. Mine or Adam's?
Yeah, right. Jude always seems to be 2 steps ahead.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
I don't even know how.
And, I'm not sure what he's planning. Somehow he figured out that Adam knew who he was. Also in the scene, Holiday doesn't know that Adam is helping Casey and Penn. Rather, she thinks that he only has evil intentions. And that might force her to make a decision she'll regret, like going with Jude.
Oh, gosh, it's so complicated. That's so exciting, though, and, like, keeps you on the edge, which I love.
And, were you kind of surprised with the character of Jude? In terms of, like, finding out that he's this huge villain and that he's also Dr. Whittier.
Yeah. I remember reading that and being like, oh, what? I don't know. I didn't see it coming from him, because before you find all that out, like, his vibe and the energy he gives off is definitely not that.
I ran into Adelaide in the elevator.
Oh.
Yeah. For a second, I thought she was...
Holiday? I know.
Yeah. Not only does Adelaide look like Holiday, but she acts like her too. She knew Monica was upset and came to her aid. And I think Holiday would do the same thing. Holiday is kind and, supportive, just like Adelaide. Also, I love how Cyrus, just relates to his mom in this scene. They've both been through so much, and yet they can still kind of a little bit laugh about certain things, just the fact that, and maybe it's also kind of a sad laugh, but, one thing's for sure, they both miss Holiday.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's sweet how they connect on that, but it's super heavy too, and like Monica being like, Adelaide reminded me of, and Cyrus knows right away, of course.
She asked for my help not becoming Angelica.
Wow. I mean, that's great.
I feel like this is a really iffy situation. Because on one hand, helping Angel is great. She deserves to be a good person. And yet we don't know how that will alter the future. I'd love to see Monica have a mother-like bond with Angel, but that could change the course of history in a very serious way. There's definitely a lot of questions to be asked, and I'm not sure how things will pan out.
It's pretty intense. Like, the stakes are very, very high. So whichever choice, whichever path these characters go down can exactly alter everything.
The reason why I think a lot of fans have been thinking about this changing the future is because on 6 Minutes Day, David Kreisman described the finale of season 4 in 6 words, and he said, "Change the past, change the future."
Oh, totally.
Mom, what are you saying? Are you talking about changing the future?
Well, this is a huge cliffhanger. As I said, I think, fans kind of saw it coming, and that's a great thing. And, I've had this other prediction for a little while. I think there's a chance of Holiday's existence, being wiped by Monica helping save Adelaide. Yeah. Well, and it's just been so amazing having you on the show.
Yes, thank you so much. This was super fun and awesome.
Yeah, it's so exciting, and I love hearing about, just how involved you've been with the show, and, just all the, crazy experiences, both you and your character have been through. It was really such an honor, and I really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Landon saying, peace, love, and time travel.